Despite elevated uncertainty, the economy is in a solid position. The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer-run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. We believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well-positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments. Following growth of 2.5% last year, GDP was reported to have edged down in the first quarter, reflecting swings in net exports that were driven by businesses bringing in imports ahead of potential tariffs. This unusual swing has complicated GDP measurement. Surveys of households and businesses, however, report a decline in sentiment over recent months and elevated uncertainty about the economic outlook, largely reflecting trade policy concerns. It remains to be seen how these developments might affect future spending and investment. We will continue to determine the appropriate stance of monetary policy based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. Changes to trade, immigration, fiscal, and regulatory policies continue to evolve, and their effects on the economy remain uncertain. Overall, again, the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to economic developments, and for now, and we'll be watching the data carefully. So again, it's very, very hard to say when that will happen. We know that the time will come. It could come quickly. It could not come quickly. As long as the economy is solid, though, as long as we're seeing the kind of labor market that we have and reasonably decent growth and inflation moving down, we feel like the right thing to do is to be where we are, where our policy stance is, and just learn more. And in particular, we feel like we're going to learn a great deal more over the summer on tariffs. We hadn't expected them to show up much by now, and they haven't. And we will see whether, to the extent to which they do over coming months. And I think that's going to inform our thinking, for one thing. In addition, we'll see how the labor market progresses. So at some point it will become clear. I can't tell you exactly when that will be. And meanwhile, we'll be watching the labor market very carefully for signs of weakness and strength, and tariffs for signs of what's going to happen there. And of course, there are many developments ahead. Even in the near term, developments are expected on tariffs. So I think we don't yet know with any confidence where they will settle out. We have an estimate. So of course, we're watching, like everybody else is, what's going on. I really don't have any comment on that. Possible that we'll see higher energy prices. What's tended to happen is when there's turmoil in the Middle East, you may see a spike in energy prices, but tends to come down. Those things don't generally tend to have lasting effects on inflation, although, of course, in the 1970s, they famously did, because you had a series of very, very large shocks. But we haven't seen anything like that now. The U.S. economy is far less dependent on foreign oil than it was back in the 1970s. So, but